Two or more events are independent if the result of the second event is not affected by the first. For example, tossing two coins. When you toss two coins, the result of the first flip, whether you get heads or tails, has nothing to do with the outcome of the second flip. Getting a tails the first time does nothing to predict whether the second flip will be a heads or tails. Events are dependent when the second outcome is affected by the first. It depends on it. For example, being second in line to draw Secret Santa names. Say there are 5 names in a basket. The first person to draw gets to choose from 5 names. So the probability of picking any name is 1 in 5, or 20%. If you are second, you now only have 4 names to choose from. So the probability of picking any name left is 1 in 4. 1 in 4, or 25%. So in determining if a set of events is independent or dependent, ask yourself, does the second outcome of the second event depend on what happened the first event? If you answer yes, then the events are dependent. If you answer no, they are independent. I would now like you to read from this slide and hit pause so that you can read each example and determine if it is independent or dependent. After going through 1 through 5 independently, then resume the video to hear the answers. Selecting a fiction or a nonfiction book from the library. This is independent because a choice of fiction does not make you either pick fiction or nonfiction the second time. You can make these choices independent of one another. Number 2, drawing marbles from a bag without replacing them is dependent. The key word is without replacing. If you were to put the marble back in the bag after the first pick, you have the same probability of choosing any marble as you did the first pick. But without replacing it, the chances of picking a marble depend on what was picked first. Number 3, drawing names from a hat with replacing them is independent. The key words to recognize here are with replacement. You have the same chances of drawing the name the second or subsequent times as you do the first, since you are putting the names back. This defines an independent set of events. Number 4, rolling a 5, then a 3 on a die is independent. Each roll produces an equally likely chance of rolling a number. Rolling a 5 first has nothing to do with the results of the next roll. Number 5, choosing students for 4 council positions is dependent. Say you have 10 students to choose from. After the first student is chosen, you only have 9 to choose from, then 8, and so on. Each choice, you have less to select from, so the event of choosing students depends on who is left. Events that can happen at the same time are known as mutually inclusive events. For example, in a deck of cards, a card can be both red and a 4 at the same time, such as a 4 of hearts or 4 of diamonds. Therefore, these are mutually inclusive. Events that cannot happen at the same time are mutually exclusive. For example, in a deck of cards, a card cannot be both red and black at the same time. Another word for mutually exclusive is disjoint. Now hit pause and read each example to determine if the event is mutually inclusive or mutually exclusive. Then resume the video to check your answers. Being male or female is mutually exclusive. You cannot be both. Number 7. Drawing an ace or a 3 is mutually exclusive. You cannot have a card that is both an ace and a 3 at the same time. Number 8. Drawing a king or a heart. These are mutually inclusive. You can have a heart that is a king, the king of hearts. Majoring in biology or Spanish. This one is a tricky one. You actually can double major and have both a major in biology and Spanish at the same time, making them mutually inclusive. Number 10. Living in France or England is mutually exclusive. You cannot live in both at the very same time. Number 11, living in Egypt or Africa. Let's look at a map. If you look at this map of Africa, notice that Egypt is in Africa. Since Egypt is in Africa, these events can be mutually inclusive.